Hey guys, I've got a little bit different video for you today. Today we're going to talk about songwriting, and I'm going to share some tips with you. One, from the perspective of writing the lyrics and the melody line first, and then writing the music to accompany that. I really think this is going to help you, number one, if you've already written a song but there's just something missing. I think that the tips we go through in this video is going to give you some new insights and perspectives on your song and kind of help you break past that point and have that aha moments like, okay, that's the missing piece. Now, also, if you're new to songwriting and you've always wanted to write your first song, and I encourage this, guys. I don't care if you're just a hobbyist, playing in the bedroom or whatever. I do encourage you to jump out there and start writing some stuff, see what you can come up with. I think this video will help you with that as well. So I'm gonna share a short clip of actually a song that I just wrote. This is unreleased. I'm kind of taking a chance, I think, by putting it out there because it's also unpolished. But I am going to share with you the verse, the pre-chorus, and then the chorus. So this will be a short clip. And then I'm going to break down the melody line and the chord structure. You'll hear this is in 3 different keys. So I'm going to break all of that down. And again, this is really just to help you gain a new perspective and kind of get you over that hump and give you some more ideas for your music and your songs.
In a quiet life, desperation, bound by solitude. Every word you speak goes unspoken, like a ghost, an unnamed soul. Where do you go when you're on the edge? When there's nowhere to turn around, your back's against the wall again. Then it's too late to turn back now.
Guys, real quick before I forget, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone at the Forge Irish Pub in Brandon. I love playing on that stage and the people there are awesome. Also, a quick shout out to James, who brought his wife and his friends. They were here from Colorado Springs. We're here in Florida for another event, but he had reached out to me and saying, hey man, while I'm here, I'd love to catch one of your shows. So thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, Scott. You and your wife came out to see us, and several others who came up to see us. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. So yeah, I just wrote this song a couple of weeks ago, and of course I like to just put stuff out there. I don't wait. I'm like, you know what, let me start performing this live, because a lot of times as you perform a song live, then you go back and listen to it as you played it live. You really start to break things down further and like, okay, well, I can change this or I can change that. By the way, I'll let you hear the complete song at the end of the video, but I just wanted to share that tidbit with you real quick there, okay? I want to give you some courage. I want to give you some courage to just sometimes jump out there and just put it out there, okay? Now, let's start with the chorus, okay? Because that's kind of the catchy part of this song. By the way, I kind of have the title, but I keep flopping back and forth. Anyway, it's either going to be called On the Edge or Too Late to Turn Back Now. So one of the two, I'm not really sure. So here's the unique thing about the chorus. It's only 3 chords. Now, I did mention some key changes. We'll get to that. But I want to start with the chorus because that's what I came up with first. I had this melody in my head. I didn't have the chords in my head yet, but I had this melody, the chorus melody line in my head. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to sing what's in my head and find the chords that fit that. The interesting thing, so here's the chords, right? It's E major, C major, D major. A cool sound, but typically, okay, when we're playing that C and that D, oftentimes we're in the key of E minor, not E major. So we would want to play this instead. listen one more time to the difference of the way I play the chorus of this specific song. Just gives it a different feel, and that started to really fit the melody that I had in my head. I really wasn't sure about that. I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's a major, major, major. How's that going to sound? And when I started singing it,
where do you go when you're on the edge and there's no way to turn around?
and so again, you know, I'm writing the lyrics and the melody first. Mainly the melody, and the lyrics are kind of coming at the same time. I'm typing these in my laptop as I was out on the patio when I was writing this song. So I needed to find the progression, right? The key and the progression that fit what I'm writing as the melody, not vice versa. Again, most of my metal music that I've written, practically all of the metal music I've written, I've always had the riffs, and I would record that in the studio. Then I'd come back later and I would write lyrics that fit that, melodies that fit that progression, those riffs and progressions. Now, real quick, the benefit of doing it this way, writing that melody and the lyrics first, and then accompanying the music to fit that, is that you're going to be able to sing and play this more easily, okay, as opposed to, and I had this problem, I've shared this on a prior video, you know, like the songs I wrote for the Masterpiece album. You know, I wrote the music, recorded it, then went back and wrote lyrics and recorded the vocals, only to find later that there were some songs, and still are some songs, that I can't perform live because I can't sing it and play it at the same time. So taking this approach, and it's not that you should always take this approach, I'm not saying any way is right or wrong, but if you're wanting to perform your music and sing it live like I'm doing now, you really want to make sure you can do that, right? Because I know in the studio we'll record it piece by piece, and that's fine. But before you get to that level, you want to make sure, if you plan to perform this live, that you can play and sing your songs at the same time with no issues. Now let's talk about the verse here. So the verse is in a completely different key, and I actually start the song out with that. So before, you know, we've got an E major in there, but then we're playing the C and D, which would be in the key of E minor. And guys, I'm not well versed in music theory. You guys can feel free to comment and let me know what this is called. But it's either called like the relative major, relative minor, or parallel, something like that. I'm not really sure, so forgive me for that. I'm starting to dive into theory a little bit more. Ken Condelis, my partner, we both co-own Metal Mastermind, our course platform, and he's actually working on a music theory course for you guys. So that's going to be coming out, and as I'm kind of helping him with this, I'm starting to learn a bit more. So theory, real quick, you know, I've never been big on like, well, you have to learn theory. I don't think that you have to learn it, but it is good to know some theory, just so that you can speak the same language that other musicians speak. It just makes the language a bit easier so that you can communicate. So really, that's all it is if you want to look at it that way. Let's go to the verse. I'm going to play this through for you, okay, because the verse actually has two parts. We are now in the key of B minor, but the verse has two parts. Here we go. Here I kind of switched things up a little bit. I told you, I just got finished telling you that I came up with a melody line first for the chorus, because that's like the main piece of the song. That's the part that I want to be most memorable, right, when you're writing your song, because that's the part that, you know, everybody's going to want to sing along with the chorus. A lot of people may not know the verses and that sort of thing, and you want that to be memorable as well, but the chorus has to pop if you're writing a song that you want people to remember, okay? So when we get to the verse, though, I started writing lyrics for this, but I was kind of writing the music and the lyrics simultaneously, which that's kind of hard to explain, but it was just kind of all coming together at the same time. The thing is, I knew I wanted the verse to be something different in a different key, and it wasn't, it wasn't for the sake of making the music more complex, which this kind of does. And I'll tell you my inspiration for this structure here in a second, this entire song. But I didn't want to make it more complex for the sake of making it complex, but I wanted the song to have depth and substance to it. And that's why I decided on, well, I want a different key. And I just naturally went to a B minor and started playing this little progression here. And of course, again, I was starting to write the lyrics and the melody lines simultaneously. Took me a little while to come up with the exact melody. I kept coming up with different things, but let's go through this real quick.
Leading a quiet life, desperation, bound by solitude. Every word you speak goes unspoken, like a ghost, an unnamed soul.
Now, normally I'm not going to go through every single chord. Well, yeah, we will. Let's go through it. I'm in the key of B minor. I play the B minor. Now, you notice, and this is the beauty of playing acoustic. This is why I love playing acoustic so much. That next chord would technically be an A. Then there's an F sharp minor, then a G. Okay, second time around I do something different. We'll cover that. But instead of going to that A after the B minor, I go to this chord, really cool sounding wicked chord. I love these chords. I don't know what they're called, but they just sound cool. And this is just kind of something I figured out by accident because I wanted kind of a walk up. And that's what this allows me to do. My first note is a C sharp, so you're playing like a C sharp minor, but you could have another guitar playing an A. Like while I'm playing this, you could have another guitar doing this. Okay, that would fit together. Now, the bass line, of course, I haven't written the bass line of the song yet, but I'll more than likely go up to that C sharp note. Or since the guitar is doing that, I might go to an A. I don't know. I'll get there when I get there. When we get in the studio, I'm going to be recording this song very soon. I've got a little bit of news to share with you about what I'm doing here, by the way. A little shift in direction. We'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, so these are things I want you to think about, though. I don't necessarily want to make this video about this song, okay? This song is not released yet. Nobody knows what it is. But it will be this year, I promise. But I want you to think about these things as you're writing. Don't be afraid to step outside of the norm and try something a little different. Try a weird chord or something. It's not always going to work. Sometimes you'll be like, oh my God, that sounds like a dog howling when I put those two chords together. Okay, so don't do that. Do something else, right? Sometimes it might call for just a simple chord, and that's fine too. Anyway, so we go to that, the B minor. Then we go to an A, but I'm playing like this C sharp minor thing here. It's actually a C sharp over E is how I've got that, but yeah, something like that, okay? Then I go to an F sharp minor. I like to play my F sharp minor. This is another thing I love about playing acoustic because I can play these chords with open notes and it just sounds more full, okay? Tabs real quick on that. What is that? That's the A and D string, 4th fret, then the G string, 2nd fret, and the last two open. I'm not giving tabs on this because, again, I'm still kind of, I mean, the song's written, but it's not released yet. So then I go to a G. Now, the second time around, okay, the second time around, I start out the same way, but I do a little something different at the end. So instead of the F sharp minor to a G, I do a D to a G. And just that one little change, I've got that little walk up there too. I may or may not keep that. I haven't decided yet. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like, why don't I just go to the G instead? What I might do, okay, and it's just some things to think about as I'm thinking about them, I might just have the guitar do this. have the bass guitar do this. Okay, so this is when we get more into thinking about the different instruments involved in your song. You don't want everything doing the exact same thing together, right? You want those dynamics. So again, these are things to think about. Not so much right now because we're just writing the song. This is kind of getting into the studio, so I don't want to get too far off track here. But anyway, one more time with a verse, okay? Let's see if I can remember my own lyrics. Again, I'm gonna let you hear the full song at the end of the video here.
Leading a quiet life of desperation, bound by solitude. Every word you speak goes unspoken, like a ghost, an unnamed soul.
Whoa, what did we just do? This is how I wrote this next part. You're thinking, wait a minute, Jason, what was that last chord you just played? Okay, that was a B flat. All of a sudden, we're in an entirely different key for what's coming up, the pre-chorus here, okay? So this happened very organically. As I was playing this, I actually mimicked just now what I did the first time that I wrote that first verse, and just naturally it went to this B flat. And I think the reason why I like the key, or I like the chord or the note B flat so much is because if you remember in the Goonies, they're playing that organ, and if they played the wrong notes, then these rocks would fall on them. And then the one kid's like, you better play the right note or we'll all B flat. So anyway, the thing here is B flat's not really what we would consider like an acoustic friendly chord, right? It's a bar chord. And you know, there's some different ways you can play it or whatever, but it kind of gives the song more of a rock driven sound, because again, I'm going to record the song with electric guitars and all that stuff, but I want an acoustic version too, which is primarily what I'm doing on the weekends here. So I'm thinking, man, I just naturally went to that chord. When this happens, grab it, record it, don't forget it. This is my tip right here, okay? When you're playing something cool, and I always encourage you just to throw a camera up, like if you're on the patio or in your bedroom or whatever, throw a camera up, and as you're writing the song, when you've got certain parts down, record it so that you remember the cadence, you remember the chord structure, you remember exactly how you're phrasing the lyrics and that sort of thing. You can always go back and change it, but guys, you know, and how many times, you can leave this in the comments too, how many times have you written something, you know, the lyrics, the chords, and then you're like, man, this is awesome, this is gonna be a good song. But then like 30 minutes later, maybe you go get a coffee or beer or something, you come back and you're like, oh crap, I don't even remember what it was, you know. So I encourage you to record it. That's a huge tip. Anyway, so sometimes these magical little things will happen as you're playing. See where they lead. Like I went to a B flat, right? Okay, so now we're in another key. We're in the key of D minor here. Okay, so we're in the key of D minor, but I go into that, for some reason after that G, that B flat just felt and sounded natural. So I went there and I'm like, okay. And the funny thing is, as I was writing the lyrics to the verse that we just went through, I kind of already had the pre-chorus in my head even prior to doing that, but I kind of put it to the side. I'm like, I really want to tackle the verse. So of course, sometimes when you're songwriting, there's not really a lot of structure as to how you're doing it. Usually tackle the chorus first, and then everything else is kind of jumbled together. And I already knew this was going to be like a really high part vocally, and just kind of a height of the song building into the chorus. And here's the tip. When you're going from verse to chorus, you don't always have to have that extra piece of music, which I call a pre-chorus. You don't always have to have that, but you do want to have something, some piece of music that builds into that chorus. In other words, you don't always want to go from, okay, well, here's the verse, and then boom, all of a sudden we're at the chorus. You want to have something that kind of builds up to that, and a pre-chorus, another piece of music here, and you don't necessarily have to have it in a different key. But this is the perfect way, though, to build into that chorus. You know, you're preparing them for something like it's the height of the song, right? So I wrote this in the key of, again, D minor here, and I just kept going with it. So first, and again, I kind of already had the melody in here, which I'll sing that in a second, but I wasn't quite sure where to go. I was like, do I want this to be 2 chords? We've got the B flat. Do I want it to be this? That would have been enough, right? B flat, C, B flat, C. I was just going to keep things very, very simple and then go into the chorus. That would have been fine. But I'm like, I want to expand on this a little bit, so I decided to go up to the D minor. Now, I almost repeated that because I actually played 2 pieces of music before going into the chorus, but I thought to myself, the way the melody that I had in my head, and again, oftentimes the melodies, when you're writing lyrics and melodies first, then writing music to accompany that, that melody is there. So you want to always make sure that what you're playing accompanies that. Sometimes, right, sometimes you can leave yourself some breathing room to say, okay, well, the guitar part's just not working, so maybe I changed the melody a little bit. That's okay, that's fine, but let me just say this. If the melody you have is strong, you're like, you know what, no, this is it. You have to find a way to make that fit on guitar. And oftentimes that's just working with different chords. So here's, let me play this for you real quick.
There's a fire in your heart, a passion ready to explode.
I had this melody in my head. That second time around, we did something a little bit different vocally. And it wasn't fitting with the progression. In other words, I kind of wanted to do this twice. I wanted to do that twice, then go into the chorus. But that second melody that you just heard, and I'm not going to sing it again, my voice is feeling a little rough today, but that just was not fitting. So I had to keep playing around with the chords, and I ended up coming to the G minor, which G minor, we rarely ever play that chord on acoustic or as a guitar player. How many times have you played a G minor? Okay, probably not many times, if ever, but again, we go places on the guitar that maybe you've never gone before, or maybe you don't go there very often, to accompany the melody that we have up here in our head, so that we can fit those pieces together. So I came up with this. Then I go to an A major after that. Here's why I did that. Let me go from the G minor to the E, which we start playing the chorus. I didn't like that at all, right? And I was kind of going up in the melody. Let me play the clip for you here real quick.
There's a fire in your heart, a passion ready to explode.
The melody was kind of like, it needed something else. I'm like, well, let's think outside the box. What fits, right? I'm in the key of D minor here, but then I go to a G minor, which kind of changes things a little bit, right? Kind of shifting gears again. But then I just started playing different chords, and I finally came up on that A. That worked. I was like, oh, that's it. Okay, G minor, A, then, you know, do a power slide on acoustic, right? And then that worked for the chorus. So let me play musically just all the way through real quick. So again, I'll let you hear the full performance here in a second, but just one last note I wanted to make here. So what inspired me to write this song? So one thing is actually another song, another band. Like, I like the band Chicago. I know you guys are thinking, Jason, you're a metal dude, man. You're even wearing a Siren shirt. And hey, Doug and Ed, if you guys are watching, and the rest of the band. Anyway, I like different styles of music, though. That's kind of going down a different rabbit hole there, but I do enjoy different styles. I love anything 80s, like any and everything 80s. So the song though by Chicago, Will You Still Love Me, there's so much, I don't want to say complexity, because again, I don't like to use that word. I don't like to say, well, I'm going to write this super complex song that is hard to figure out. That's not where I'm going with this, right? But I want the music to be just this beautiful work of art. And whenever you can integrate key changes and then have chords that are following this melody that you have that fits to that, I think it just turns into a true masterpiece, a true work of art. That particular song has a lot of that in there, so I'm like, man, I'm trying to work up an acoustic version of that song, and I'm having a hard time. I cannot sing as high as the guys in Chicago, of course, so I had to transpose it. But anyway, so that was kind of one, and there's some other songs like that as well that just have a lot of key changes and stuff. When you're sitting down trying to figure it out, it's like, wow, this is cool. This is so cool. The other reason is, yes, I'm playing these acoustic gigs, but I want to play more originals. I want to integrate more originals. And, you know, people are used to hearing a certain thing from me, or kind of, you know, it's kind of a broad genre, right? Because I'm playing some pop stuff, I'm playing some rock stuff, a little bit of metal covers too. I've got a cover of Wasted Years that I do, and people are like, oh man, that's cool, you know, but then I'll go play some Eddie Rabbit right after that, right? So they're used to kind of hearing Jason Stallworth playing this, so I want to have some original music that I can put out there as well. And of course, I would, you know, like to sell those albums there at the venues. And so it's just kind of a way for me to extend my brand as a musician. And it's just something I've become super passionate about. I love the idea of going this direction. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to share that. You know, again, I'm never going to stop playing metal. You know, maybe I release a metal album one year, and the next year I release more of an acoustic rock or just regular rock that I can play on acoustic, you know, something like that. But again, I just want to share that with you. I don't want you to think you have to put yourself in a tiny little box. I'm just playing, you know, black metal and that's all I'm playing, or I'm just doing melodic death metal or metalcore and that's it. Don't want to do anything else. Look, if that's what you really want, that's okay, but I always encourage you to expand out, because chances are there's some other stuff that you like. Don't be afraid to go in that direction. You can still play this other stuff, right? There's no rule that says you can't play, let's say, black metal, but you can't play more of a classic rock. There's no rule that says that. Why would you succumb to that, you know? Make sure that you're being true to yourself is all I'm saying, right? And just be willing to open up a little bit and accept things that you may actually like deep down, okay? So, all right, I'm going to let you hear the song. Guys, this is not the perfect version. Again, this is the first time I played this song live, so you'll hear some little nuances. You might hear me fall off key a little bit here and there because I'm still trying to work things out. Anyway, here's the tune. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe. I'll leave you with, I don't know the name of this song yet, but this is it.
In a quiet life, desperation, bound by solitude. Every word you speak goes unspoken, like a ghost, an unnamed soul. Where do you go when you're on the edge? When there's nowhere to turn around, your back's against the wall again. It is too late to turn back now. Listen to the sound of angels calling. They don't know your name. Falling once again, I cannot reach them. Crying out my ninja soul. There's a fire in your heart, passion ready to explode. Where do you go when you're on the edge? When there's no way to turn around, back's against the wall again, and it's too late to turn back now. But where do you go when you're on the edge? When there's no way to turn around, your back's against the wall again, and it's too late to turn back now. There's a fire in your heart, passion ready to explode. Where do you go when you're on the edge? When there's no way to turn around, your back's against the wall again, and it's too late to turn back now.